I really like to travel, and I've always wanted to travel. And when I finished high school, I went to uni thinking, like, this is my chance to travel. But obviously my parents were like, especially my mum was like, you're not going to travel without a good reason. Like, you sit at home and study. So I then went on a scavenger hunt of study tours, and I found like various different study tours that my university offered, and they were short term. So I took a study tour to the Monash University in Italy. It was in a small little city called Prato. And I had a friend that also went with me, and I knew her quite like relatively well. So we stayed in the apartment together and we studied there for 2 weeks. In between the study tour, I really wanted to sort of go out and explore more of Italy. And she had already seen Rome, so she wasn't keen. But I didn't want that to stop me. So I thought, you know what, I can do this. I can go on my own and have, you know, a nice little adventure and go see what Rome's like. So I'm on the train and, you know, I've settled in, I've taken a snap. I'm really excited, especially that feeling of being on your own and traveling. You feel a little bit free in a way, like a different level of freedom. So I had timed it perfectly, and I was, you know, on my phone looking at things to do, and I really wanted to see Rome on a Vespa. So there was a Vespa tour that they were offering, and I just thought, how hard is it to ride a Vespa? Like, you know, I used to ride a scooter when I was a kid, like hopefully it should be fine. I've ridden a bike before. So I was like, yep, I can do this, and I booked the Vespa tour. And so I'm on the train, it's going, and then randomly 2 hours in, it just stops. And like, the train lines in Europe, they're notorious for having really long delays, but I thought, surely it can't be that long. Turned out to be 3 hour long delay. I'm like, please Allah, just get me to Rome in time. So eventually I get to Rome, and I'm calling him frantically saying, just wait, don't close the store. And he's like, nah, I'm closing it, I'm done. You said you were gonna be here and you're not here. I'm like, I promise I've landed. Like, you can hear the station siren. And so he's like, fine. So I'm literally running, broken out into a sweat, trying to follow my map from the station, trying to get to the guy and eventually get to him. And by this time, the sun's set and it's pitch black dark, and I see him standing outside his store with 2 Vespas. I'm like, great, I made it. I thanked him so much for waiting. He's like, so do you know how to ride a Vespa? I was like, yup. And he's like, all right. So I get on the Vespa, and he's like, okay, so just pull the clutch and then turn this on. And I was like, what's that? And he's like, you've never ridden a Vespa before, have you? I was like, I've ridden something like a Vespa before. And he's like, you can't do this. I was like, no, I promise you I can. I'm like, just tell me what it is, like what exactly to do. So he tells me what to do. I go and ride it, and I immediately topple. And I get up, and he looks at me and he goes, Sajda, you have one life. Treat it well. And he said, Rome roads are not like normal roads. They are very dangerous. So you cannot ride this Vespa. So he puts one back, and I'm like, okay, please just take me, let me see Rome on a Vespa. And he's like, I only have an hour. I'm like, I don't care. I had paid for 3, but I was like, look, I just want to see Rome on a Vespa. So I get at the back of his, I put on a helmet, I hold on, and then he takes me all throughout Rome. And he took me to just the most beautiful sight. Seeing it on a Vespa in Rome at night was just another level experience. I have a trait that I realized now. When my fight or flight instincts kick in, I fly. And I have that trait where if things get too hard, or if I'm not sure where things are going, or things are ending and new things are starting and I'm getting scared, then I want to fly. I was finishing off my degree, and I was just thinking, what am I doing? Where am I going to go? You know, I'm 24 now, and what does life have to offer me from here? I didn't want to be, I guess, caged down. And so I had these crazy thoughts of, you know, going to Japan to study or to teach English, or basically leaving Australia and throwing myself out of my comfort zone and escaping. But then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, it really, really forced me to look inside myself. And it forced me to face reality. And I think it was one of the best things that ever happened to me personally. I started picking up books that I hadn't read before, and I started going to these Islamic bookshops and going on Amazon and looking at, you know, different types of things to read and trying to expand my spirituality, trying to understand the types of ways I can pray to Allah and speak to Allah, trying to understand what the Prophet ﷺ went through and how the struggles he went and the strength he used is something that we can all benefit from and get inspiration from. And I started picking up the Quran and reading the English translations and sitting there with a yellow highlighter like I would with my textbooks, and just really trying to flesh out everything to get as many answers as I can from this holy text. And I mean, it was around 6 months of that real introspection that I feel like it almost reset me. And it made me realize that running away from things is never actually going to benefit me in any way. I need to step back and face reality. And in that time, I had, before COVID hit, I was halal dating a potential husband. And he was a family friend, and we had been halal dating for around 2.5 years. We had fallen in love, and we had certain complications and risks that we had to take to make things work, that at that point I wasn't willing to take those risks. So when we broke up and COVID hit, it was sort of like a massive smack across the face, because I couldn't rely on the people I used to rely on. I couldn't do the things that I used to do to try and get away from this uncomfortable feeling. But it was, in retrospect, the best feeling. It made me stop and realize what I had been doing and my unhealthy behaviors or habits, and how at the end of the day, as Muslims, we are meant to follow a certain way of life. We're meant to serve Allah, and Islamically, if we are in love with someone, then we should be marrying them. Once the lockdown period ended, things started opening up more. I realized my habits changed as well. I eventually got back together with the potential husband. Inshallah, we are engaged to be married. And my priorities changed. Before it was sort of fun and adventure. And now it sort of became Islam, making Allah happy, and then, everything else. And yeah, I feel like the person I am today, it really is shaped by what happened last year and how it personally impacted me.